Yep.
Welcome into the Metropolitan Reports. I'm Skip Berkmeyer, and this segment is called Skip and a Stick. Jay came up with this in a marketing idea of Skip and a Stick. I don't know if I'd call it that, but that's why we're here. And we're brought to you by Dalhousie Golf Club. I do want to mention this first because Dalhousie is a big part of what we're doing here on Claves Online, the Big 550 KTRS, and with Jay Randolph Jr. So Dalhousie is a great place. And look at it. We have a member here on Skip and the Stick, a member of Dalhousie, a member of Bellerive, member of many places, and my friend Jim Holtgrieve. Jim, good to be with you, sir.
Mr. Skip, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for doing this. Our first inaugural episode. We thought it would only be appropriate to have you on with us because not only are you a great person for golf in St. Louis, but you're a great friend of Jay and myself. So it's good to see you healthy and here in 2021.
Well, I'll send you both some money, but just so that I don't get in trouble with Cord Dombrowski, the correct pronunciation is Dalhousie.
Really?
If you want to talk to him about the old time and the old day, he will tell you it's Dalhousie.
Well, I stand corrected. It's a wonderful place. I think we can all agree to that. I
it
agree.
certainly is.
I say this statement every time about it, Jim, and I think you'll agree. I never thought a national golf club would be in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Did you?
No. But Cord and Billy Morrill and the group down there, those guys are magnificent, and it's a spectacular place. And boy, if you like to play golf, it's a great place to go.
It really is. Hey, I was 2 weeks ago. I was in Houston at the Champions Cup, the 4-ball event at Champions Golf Club. And the reason I bring this up because I really thought of you and I want to start it this way. The guest speaker at the dinner was Hal Sutton.
Really?
And he was fantastic as a speaker, seemingly has found a lot of goodness in his life in his later years. And it was fun to listen to him. But I after listening to him, I was thinking of his year in 1980 when he was by far the best amateur on the planet and won the U.S. Amateur, won the North-South, won the Western Amateur, and you were in your heyday and you had to go up against him. In fact, if I recall, didn't you lose to him in the semifinals, I think, at the Country Club in North Carolina or the quarterfinals? Is that correct?
I lost him in the semifinals at Country Club in North Carolina. That's correct.
In 1980. So I was curious. You've seen a ton of amateurs go around, and with the record there, I thought Hal Sutton might have been the best amateur you ever played with during your heyday. Would that be correct?
Well, I guess that's probably a great statement because we played Walker Cup and we played World Team, and there's no question that he was probably one of the most solid, every time in and out player. I always thought that Jay Sigel was certainly one of the great players back then too, and then Vinnie Giles. But Hal Sutton brought something new to the game, and it was long, and he was great around the greens. So no question, back at that time, 1979, 1980, 81, he was the best player, no doubt.
What do you recall from your match? Is it stick in your crawl, that match, that semifinal match, or did he just what was about that day, that match? Does anything stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I split my pants and I had to change pants going to the 10th tee after losing the 9th hole, and I was completely discombobulated and lost all my focus, and then I'm getting beat.
Well, I didn't know that was going to be the memory. I did not remember that, actually. I think you have told me that before, but I didn't remember that. That's the story. You also, if I recall, I think it was 1983. Didn't you get to the finals of the British Amateur 2 at Turnberry? I've seen the board over there when I went over and played it, and it was really cool to see your name. That had to be a heck of a week and an unbelievable experience playing over there to get that far.
Well, there was no doubt, but I was totally embarrassed because I was the first American to go over during a Walker Cup and get to the finals of the British Amateur and not win. I was the first one to do that. But I got to throw back to you a story about the 80 U.S. Amateur, if I'm allowed.
Sure, please do.
That's when I was, if you read oh, I can't think of the gentleman's book, wrote the book about Fred Couples. And I beat Couples. He was a medalist, and I beat Couples 5-4 in the match before the quarters. And you knew if you got to the in the quarters, I beat him. You knew if you got to the semis of the U.S. Amateur, you got invited to the Masters back then. And so I'm playing Fred Couples, and so there's 4 matches out. We're the 3rd match out, and we come to the 7th hole, and we're 2 holes behind. And that's when Mr. Boatwright pulls up to us and says, gentlemen, I need to talk to you. Even though this is match play and we're down to the quarterfinals, there's only 4 matches. I just want to let you know that you gentlemen are 2 holes behind. And he said, Mr. Couples, I watched a couple holes, and I got to be honest, it's you are slow playing, Mr. Holtgrieve, so I need you guys to speed up. So he drives away in his cart, and Fred says, who in the was that? And I said, Fred, that's the director of rules and competitions for the USGA. He says, well, who is that? Well, PJ followed us around for the next several holes, and Couples got completely disfocused, and I ended up beating him 5-4 and got into the Masters. And Nance always said that Couples would have played 1 more Masters had it not been for Holtgrieve beating him at the 80 U.S. Amateur. So anyway.
Well, yeah, I would think he might have been looking ahead, and thank God you beat him. That's fantastic. Got into the Masters again.
I got lucky.
You played in the Masters 5 times. You qualified all different ways because of the Walker Cup and the USAM and the like. Do you recall anyone? I'm kind of leading to I know your story because I know the Masters. You have the one experience that I think that trumps them all. And I would like you to share that with the audience because I think I've heard it a couple different times, and to get to do what you did, I would love you to explain it.
Well, I think you're talking about the opportunity I got the chance to play with Mr. Palmer.
Yes, you got it.
And so my first Masters was 80, and I got paired with Gabe Brewer, and I made the cut. And so I got a chance to spend some time with the people at Augusta, with Klecky and David Spencer. And, as you know, when you get your invitation to Masters, you can go down and play a practice round anytime you want between when you get the invitation at Christmas time and the tournament in April. So I went down a number of times, went down and played and got a chance to meet Spencer and Klecky. And I think they knew who I was. And so on 81, I'm on the putting green on Tuesday, and Spencer walks up to me and he says, hey, would you like to play with Mr. Palmer on Thursday? And I said, well, sure, who wouldn't? And he said, okay, done. And he walks away, and I go, oh, he was kidding you, really? Seriously? I'm going to play with Arnold Palmer? You got to be kidding me. Well, I got paired with him. And the couple of great stories are that I always had a sequence that when I got through with hitting balls in the range, I went to the locker room and went to the restroom and then went out on the putting green and hit putts. And so we were on the putting green, and Mr. Palmer looks up, and the group ahead of us is teed off, and they're walking out on the fairway. And Mr. Palmer says to me, he says, Jim, you want to go to the first tee? I said, oh, no, sir, Mr. Palmer, you go right ahead. Well, I was scared to death. You're going to walk with Mr. Palmer to the practice tee at Augusta, the Masters? So he takes off, and back then the putting green was only about 40 yards from the first tee. Well, as soon as he took off, the crowd just completely turned their back to me and completely focused to him. So now I'm wondering, how am I going to get to the first tee? And I see the group ahead of us, they've hit their second shots. So I'm going like this, trying to see how am I going to get. Mr. Palmer sees me doing that. He sends his detail to come get me. And I walk up on the first tee. He says, Jim, I told you should have come with me. So, but it was just such an honor to play with him. And I was nervous because Dan O'Neill, walked up to me as I was going to the putting green, and he said, "By the way, I just want to let you know, I know you're playing with Mr. Palmer, but he said, as far as I know, nobody has ever topped it off the first tee at Augusta National on the Masters."
He did
So
not.
that's Dan O'Neill. That's my buddy Dan. So anyway, I didn't, but you can imagine where the ball went, right?
It probably went a little left.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much. So, but I mean, I got playing with him, and we're back then. I hit the 1-iron, and I could hit it a long way, and I could hit it straight. And I'm 2 under par. We're playing the 18th hole, and I hit the 1-iron about 280 right down the middle. And he says, "Oh my gosh, Tim," he says, "what in the world is this thing?" And he starts pulling it out of my bag, and he says, "Oh, Jim, my gosh, look at the girl in the yellow. Look at her." So he said, "Jim, what is?" I said, "Mr. Palmer, I'm playing with my golf idol. I'm 2 under par. I'm a steel salesman in Missouri. Uh, I'm playing the Masters with you." I said, "My adrenaline's going." So he was just so nice to me, and thank goodness in my life I got a chance to play 97 holes of golf with him, either in tournament and or practice rounds. And but he was just unbelievable.
That's as good as it gets. And I'm not trying to jump around here, but I think it's important. Jay just put up a picture of you sort of fist pumping there, doing a little Tiger Woods. I think that picture, if I'm recalling here, isn't that in the 1981 U.S. Mid-Am? Isn't that when you won over at Bellerive, the very inaugural USGA event?
That's exactly what that is. That was about an 8-footer that I had for birdie, and you told me you weren't going to get me to cry, but
I know
my buddy Bob Lewis, that's who I played, and all I had to do was make par on that hole because I was 1 up playing 18, and he had already 2-putted and made par, so I got it above the hole, and that ball went in the hole. I made birdie. Had that ball not hit the hole, it would have gone 4 or 5, 6 feet past the hole. So yeah, that was to win the first Mid-Am. That's where it was.
Well, and sometimes there's divine intervention in these things, as you know. There's another good pick he's throwing up there. Another good one of Mr. Holtgrieve and your caddy, Tom O'Toole. I would be remiss. I'll get you into levity now. If he caddied for you at the Masters, you have to tell the audience a really good Tom O'Toole story from the past USGA president here. I got to hear something pretty funny or pretty good. I've heard a couple. I'd like you to share it with the audience if you can.
Well, it's I'm sorry if people have heard it before, but it's the classic one, and it's a little long, but basically it goes that so this is the first year that Hort Harden said you could bring your own caddies, and this is 1983. That was my 4th Masters. I played my first 3, well, 80, 81, 82. Excuse me, 80. This is 83, and I made the cut off my first 3 Masters playing using an Augusta caddy. Well, I got O'Toole, who basically got me, I think, to do everything: win my 2 state titles, win the Mid-Amateur, caddy with me all over the country, and caddy for me to a few other places in the British Amateur. So, no question, I had to bring him to Augusta, and so as you know, the Augusta caddies, they get a uniform. They get the white suit. They get the white shoes with the green Augusta emblem. They get the white hat, or the green hat, depending upon whatever. And so they get the uniform. So Monday we kind of got a little rained out. It was really wet and really kind of bad. So Tuesday we're playing a practice round, and it's still pretty wet. Tom O'Toole decides to wear these rubber duck shoes. So we're walking off the first tee. We get down to the first green, and there's Dave Spencer. He says, "Jim," he says, "come here a minute, will you please?" He said, "What's your caddy doing? That's not the caddy uniform, and he needs to have on the caddy uniform here at Augusta." Tom, come over here. And he says, well, Dave, it's going to be wet and I'm going to ruin those tennis shoes. He said, I just decided to put on these duck shoes. Tom, put down the bag, go down to the caddy shack and get another pair of tennis shoes and put them on. Yes, sir. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, the sun comes out. We're walking down first tee, takes his hat and turns it around, turns the Augusta cap around backwards. Get down to the first green. Jim, Dave Spencer, Jim, come over here. What's going on with your problem? What's going on with your caddy? If we can't get your caddy to adhere to the rules here of the caddies, I'll get you a new caddy. So, Tommy, come here. Well, Mr. Spencer, the sun's come out. I mean, we're from St. Louis. It's been, snowing. I get a chance to get some sun. Tommy, put the hat on the right way or I'm going to have to get Jim another caddy. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday. So Thursday, Tuesday, we know we get paired with Jack Nicklaus on Thursday. And so, back then we only played twosomes,
right,
which was really cool. So here I got Mr. Nicklaus now. Now, it's one thing to play with Mr. Palmer. I was nervous, but I didn't think Mr. Palmer had a chance to really win the Masters. So I knew I kind of wasn't going to really interfere with him. But Jack Nicklaus, I mean, this was 83. He won a tournament. He won the tournament, in
86.
a little later that. But anyway, so our routine was that I left the range. I took a putter and I took 3 balls, and I went to the locker room, went to the putting green. He went down to go to the restroom, whatever he had to do at the caddy house. So I'm on the putting green and I'm putting, and here we go again. Tom's not there. And Mr. Nicklaus, I look up, the group ahead of us is on the tee, and they teed off. And Mr. Nicklaus says, Jim, our group just teed off. I'm going to go. You want to? I said, no, sir. You go. You go to the tee. Well, I look up. I still don't have my caddy. I got a putter and 3 golf balls, and I look up, and the group is walking up to the green. The group ahead of us is walking up to the green. Now, I got to get to the first tee. Well, all I'm thinking about walking from the putting green to the first tee is, if O'Toole doesn't show up, I'm going to have to tee off with a putter on the first tee of Augusta National and the Masters with Jack Nicklaus. What is that going to do? And so I get up there, and as I'm walking, my ex-wife, I said, go find him. Where is he? Go find him. We're going to have to tee off. And so she runs down there, and he's coming out by the scoreboard, and the crowd is huge. And he says, John, I gotta go. My player's getting ready to tee off. So he gets up there, and I said, where have you been? Could you imagine if I had to tee off with a putter? Where have you been? He said, well, Jim, we're going to be out during lunch, and they had the best pork steak sandwiches going. I had to get a little bite to eat. And so anyway, that's my O'Toole story there. I almost had to tee off at Augusta National with a putter.
Well, it's a good segue into what I wanted to bring up anyway a little bit later. Is you guys then have this lifelong friendship, and then you now go into the Metropolitan Amateur Golf Association, which was formed in the 1990s, and actually probably started in the late 80s, because this doesn't happen overnight, and it worked up to that. And I would like you to kind of give a little bit of a story or kind of summarize how that all happened, because it's a huge part. It's been 30 years now. It's hard to believe that it's been going on and playing the championship, the Metropolitan Amateur Championship, and being an organization. And it's a huge part of golf here, whether it's your handicap or whether you're playing in competitive events or USGA qualifiers. I'm curious if you could bring back some memories and talk a little bit about how that all came about.
Well, I think as Tommy and he came from me in the Missouri Amateur, we got involved with the Missouri Golf Association. And back then, Missouri Golf Association, thank goodness that we had them and we still have them. But back then, they were focused on their championship and really not promoting the game like Tommy and I learned as being involved with the USGA. Having played in not as many USGA events as you, but being around the USGA and being around the country and seeing what other organizations were doing, Tommy and I talked a lot about it. We got Mike Corey, we got Grossman, Stan Gross. Uh, we got some guys involved about what can we do more to promote the game of golf. And when we kind of talked about it with the Missouri Golf Association, they said, "Hey, coming into St. Louis and Kansas City already had Kansas City Golf Association with Bob Reed. It just wasn't something that we could see was going to happen." And obviously, the St. Louis District Golf Association, which I'm very grateful to as well, um, they were just going to stick with their own format and really not go further with it. So we said, "Hey, why don't we try to get with the USGA? Why don't we see if they'll support us? And why don't we see if we can build an association that where everybody can play golf? And whether you're a member of a private club or you're a member of a public golf course or whatever, that you can come play golf. We can start some championships and get everybody involved in it." And obviously, with Tommy knowing what he knows about the game and the rules and the administration and all that he knew that he got taught by the USGA, it was time to try to formulate, which thank goodness with Core and Gross and Ricky Meyer and some other people, we started this association and with the with the backing of the USGA, and I think it's been tremendous. I mean, obviously we Tommy had started the administration, did it himself. Now we have Kurt Roy, who is just unbelievable, and they have a really strong team. There's no question about it, and they're doing good things for the game of golf, which is the most important thing.
Oh, I agree. And this year they're going to have the 2021 championship at St. Louis Country Club in August, which I remember a few years ago you did an honorary starting deal. I just hope you play this year because maybe we get to play together. I want to end. I don't want to go too much further, but I want to talk about the Walker Cup a little bit. I mean, it's a huge part of your life. Being captain was, I know, the honor of your golfing life. It's something that your whole life kind of came up to a culmination of that. You were not only over in 2011 at Aberdeen, 2013 at National Golf Links. And I know I would like you to speak to the specialness of that 2013 Walker Cup, because you not only, there was just a lot of synergy, a lot of things going on for you. It was where the very first Walker Cup was. I mean, you got George Bush involved, which is a huge part of your life and charity. I just thought it would be for you to talk about that part and that Walker Cup. I don't want to ignore the 2011 one. It has nothing to do with because you lost and this one you won. It's more of, I think the 13 just symbolizes what that championship is all about for you.
Well, thank you, because there's no doubt. Walker Cup was probably the greatest thing I ever did, and to be a captain was very special. And as you said, 13 was incredible. As I learned about the history of the Walker Cup and what George Herbert Walker started and why he started it, to bring two continents back together after World War I. I've always said that, hey, we all want to win. We all want to win, but the Walker Cup was not about winning. It was about building relationships around the country, around the world. And so we got beat in Scotland. Probably had one of the best teams ever. But we got beat. And but I knew then that if I didn't mess up, I'd become the captain of 13 at National Golf Links where it started back in 1922. The very first official Walker Cup in 1922 at Golf Links. And I knew it was going to be special because I knew that we were going to have President Bush there. I also had sent out a number of emails and notes to my friends. If you had a chance to take 10 young men to an historic place in New York City, where would you go? And everybody came back with where I wanted to go, which was the 9/11 Memorial, where I've had A friend of mine loses a son, and two friends lose a son, and a friend of mine loses a brother. And so we got it worked out because Seth Wall was on the board, and we went to the tower was not built. The pools were there, so we had a chance, and we were going with Labor Day, Saturday of Labor Day weekend, and we got a special. We had our uniforms on, and as we were walking, people saying, "Who's that?" Well, that's a Walker Cup team. Well, what is that? Somebody said, "Well, that's the 10 best amateur golfers in America." Anyway, it just was incredible about going to the pools. And then what was more incredible is when when you exit that, you went through a gift shop, and we were going. There was across the alleyway from the gift shop. There was a Brent's Burger Bar. I think one of the best burger places in New York City, and we went there. And so my wife and I, we went in, and we had 5 of us. Nathan was with us, but we were missing some guys. So I went back to the gift shop, and there I see Justin Thomas and Max Homa and Mike Weaver and Kim and Jordan Nieberg, I think. We're looking at these books and looking at these horrific pictures of what just took place, what took place on 9/11, on the place where they were standing. You couldn't believe their faces. And so we left, and we got a chance to go to the U.S. Open tennis. We got a chance to meet oh my gosh, Rafael.
Rafael Nadal.
Yeah, because he wanted to meet the Walker Cup team. And then, so I'm going to fast forward to Thursday, where we had a practice round, but President Bush wanted to have lunch with us, and we had him in the dining room, the Great Lobster Room at National Golf Links that overlooks the 18th fairway and green. It's just a really long room, and we had about 50 people in there, and we were sitting across. It was myself and Patrick Rogers and President Bush, and then Justin Thomas and Kim, and the other gentlemen were across. And then there were sponsors and members all the way down the way. And after about 15 minutes, Patrick Rogers says to the President of the United States, "Mr. President, may I ask you what you did on 9/11?" And then for the next 37 minutes, he told us what he did from when the little girl was reading at him at the kindergarten till 2 o'clock in the morning. And you should have seen these guys' faces. It was unbelievable. And so there was no doubt that President Bush, there you go. There's no doubt that President Bush is the one that he fired up the guys, and they played hard for the country, and we ended up winning. It was awesome. And the neat thing about it was that the 2 mid-ams that I wanted to have on the team, Todd White and Nathan Smith, won the 13th and then won the 14th point to bring it home.
It was so, sometimes things just work out how they're supposed to, Jim. And that I'm biased, but I think that worked out really, really well. And it just how it was supposed to be honest. And it was a great team win. It was my friend Nathan Smith, our friend, he called it the best Walker Cup experience he ever had. So I know that means a lot to you from him, who's had 3 of them. I just want to thank you for having us, bud. Let me come into your home and doing this for Jay and I. I love talking to you. I get asked all the time about what is my favorite thing about golf and what is this. And one of my favorite things is I get to call you my friend. We've known each other for many, many years. And what other game in golf than golf do you get to where I'm a 47-year-old guy and you're a 70-something guy, and we're good friends. And I think that's just, to me, just is the defining thing about golf. And I appreciate you coming on, buddy. I really do.
Well, Skip, I love you, and you're one of the best people, and you are certainly one of the. Coming from St. Louis, Missouri, you're one of the best golfers ever, And I just want to thank I want to thank Junior for not beating me at Glen Echo. Otherwise, nothing would have ever happened. I would have never done any of this. So,
That's not true.
but
That's not true. But he likes to think that. That's okay. We'll let him think that. That's all right.
I know you love the game and you do a lot for it, and it's an honor. And I'm humbled to know you, my friend.
I appreciate it. Well, this is the Metropolitan Report. We're going to do this once a month. I don't know if it's going to be as good as this one, but we're gonna sure try. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back with Skip and the Stick in a few weeks. Thanks.